Agree with all of Tate's views, but it sure beats Matt's prescriptions for young men. Again, I've read a great many comments making the same kind of point. A private message from another listener has a similar theme. It says, Matt, I agree with many of your opinions, but your message to men is off base. Young men follow Andrew Tate because his lifestyle is the ideal, whether you admit it or not.
It is true.
Wealth, fame, status, beautiful women.
Yo, shout out to Dan Bilzerian, too. He just followed me on the gram, bro. I'm trying to get to the point where Dan Bilzerian will invite me out, and then I'm going, bro. I want to get to that level personally. I don't want to give up on that because marriage in the West, I'm not sold. Chat, do you agree? Type of one if you want to get married in the West.
Women were biologically programmed to want those things. Marriage is a losing game. The only solution in modern society is to reject the life of service, as you call it. So what is the problem with this view? Well, to begin with, it's nothing less than a full, unconditional surrender to the culture. It's true that the culture has increasingly made it difficult for both men and women to form and maintain strong, intact, lasting families.
Okay.
And that's because the elites who run our society don't want you to live that kind of life.
Mm-hmm.
They prefer that you focus on your individual wants, on fulfilling your own needs and satisfying your own desires. That's what they prefer for you. That's the life they want for you. A self-focused life is precisely the sort of life they wish for you. Makes you easier to manipulate. Less of a threat to their agenda. Not really a threat at all. I mean, if you're just out there focused on yourself, being a consumer, buying lots of things for yourself, consuming things for yourself, and all the rest of it, you're not a threat to their agenda at all. I mean, you're going along with it. All of the things mentioned by Joshua in his comment, all of those things represent a conspiracy against the family. He's right about that. Court systems are set up, birth control, all the rest of it. It's an attack on the family.
Okay.
So what is the answer? To give up?
Bugatti.
To give the conspirators exactly what they want? To reward them for their efforts by turning your back on the very thing they've been assaulting for decades? The family is the fortress that they have been attacking. And you can defend it with your life, or you can wave the white flag. But if you choose to surrender, then at least be honest about what you're doing. Be honest, this is not a rejection of the left's agenda, of the cultural elite's agenda. You are submitting to it. It is a submission. It is certainly not the strong or masculine response to run away and abandon your post.
Okay.
To stop fighting because the fight is too difficult. I mean, that approach is many things, but it certainly isn't manly.
Yeah. You're manly.
And where do you go instead? I mean, what is the next move? To give up on the family is to give up on human civilization.
Bro, stop assuming that give up on family.
Cannot be a human civilization without the family. So what's plan B after you've given up on civilization? What's next? You're also giving up on yourself, on your own legacy, your own bloodline. You are descended from a long line of men stretching back thousands of years who formed families and raised children, often under circumstances far more dire than what we face.
How is losing all your money in a divorce fighting the system?
And you're giving up on that.
He's completely skipping that point.
You are surrendering your future and your past. You're giving up on everything. And what is your consolation prize? Finding financial success? I mean, the unfortunate irony is that many of the men who give up on these things in favor of, well, I'll just focus on myself and try to be financially successful. Many of them are never even going to be financially successful. So they end up with just nothing. They end up broke and alone with nothing.
Okay. What's your point?
But even if you find it, the financial success,
okay,
so what? I mean, who cares about money if you have nothing meaningful to spend it on? I have money. I don't have Andrew Tate's money, but I have money.
Slight flex. You see how a lot of the criticism of these boomers who are like, oh, Andrew Tate just likes Bugattis, they always get triggered by the fact that they're older and they haven't made as much money. Have you noticed that? A lot of the boomers, and I know this because we have a younger Chad, we're like, yeah, bro, let's go get it. When you get to Matt Walsh's age, Bot Shapiro said this, I've seen so many of the hit pieces, a lot of people just get triggered by like, you're broke! And they see that, they go like, oh, this fucking asshole. Look at it as motivational purposes only, but I'm telling you, they just get upset.
And nearly all the joy and happiness I derive from having money is that it allows me to provide for my family. That's pretty much it. That's the entire thing. That's why I like having the money, is that I find great pleasure in being able to care for a wife and 6 kids. Proud of that fact. If I didn't have them, the money would mean very little to me. I mean, I could buy nice things and drive a fancy car and live in my nice house alone, but for what?
Okay, that's not what he does, dummy. You're broke. Bro, okay, I'm not gonna, but trust me, Andrew and Tristan are not alone, bro.
Now, does that mean that if you start a family that you're guaranteed to live a joyful and fulfilled life? Well, of course not. It's a risk. And yes, the risks are in some ways much greater in modern times. We have all been poisoned by this demonic culture to one extent or another. We are all poisoned. If you marry someone, you are marrying someone who has been poisoned, who has ingested the poison.
Oh, yeah.
Who has, had taken a drink from the well of modern culture. Everybody has, as have you. And yes, if things go sideways, if you're a man, you marry a woman and your wife turns out to be a disloyal
I can't believe like how dumb he is to think that Andrew and Tristan live in a giant mansion by themselves. And after a long day of driving Bugattis and triggering Matt Walsh, they come home and, okay, good night with my lonely life. So Destiny said that shit. Everybody that I've seen, although the fucking intellectual commentators have made that exact same point, and they're like, he must be miserable when he goes to sleep. Like, I'm telling you, that's just the furthest thing from the truth.
Vulture, or if you turn out to be a disloyal vulture, or you both do, the deck will be stacked against you in court. No, there's no question about that. Divorce may ruin your life.
It will.
And if you give your heart to someone, if you bind yourself to them, not only through the marriage vow, but then also through children you conceive together, then they will have all they need to rip your guts out and burn your life to the ground. That is absolutely true.
Look what happened to Ye. Ye, he recently saw this screenshot. He was texting Kim on Twitter. Well, the picture of the messages was on Twitter. And he was texting Kim like a picture of their new baby. And he said, we have everything we need. Like, you're on the cover of Vogue. We have a beautiful family. This is your life. We have everything we need. Look what happened, bro. Look what happened.
So you take the risk. And you mitigate the risk at the same time by being smart about who you marry and by grounding your marriage and your family in faith and mutual devotion. And by working hard every day to hold up your own end of the bargain. Because there are some men out there who do everything right and they're great men and they're devoted to their families and they're intensely loyal and all of that, and their families fall apart anyway because they accidentally married a soulless, disloyal scumbag. I mean, that does happen. And sometimes it happens in the reverse. But that's not the majority of cases. Most of the time it takes 2 to tango. 2 to get married, 2 to ruin the marriage. Which means that marriage is not a mere role of the...
Yeah, it takes 2 to... But who loses in the divorce, Matt?
Dice. There's quite a lot you can do to secure your good fortune.
Okay. Chad, how many kids you want?
That's why I never cared about the statistics. When I was getting married and I heard about this, statistically, I'm not a statistic. I'm not just some number on a spreadsheet. And neither is my wife. We're human beings. I'm not subject to statistics. Not merely subject to them. Because the one thing statistics don't take into account are choices. It's about the choices you make. Whether your marriage works or not, it's about choices that are made in the marriage. If one or both of you make bad choices, your chances are going to be very poor. If you make good choices, they won't be. That's what it is.
He needs to come on fresh and fit.
And yet the risk is always there. So will you live in fear of it? Or will you...
Chat says, me when I'm trying to reach the word count on an essay. This dude is chatting. Chat Walsh, bro.
Have the courage. And go forward anyway. One other thing I want to say, and this is important to say, that it's just not true, okay? It's just not true that a life of obscene luxury and materialism and selfishness and self-service and of, sleeping with many different women and all of that, it's not true that is the ideal, which we so often hear these days. That's the ideal. Non-monogamy, having many sexual partners, that's the ideal, they say. That's not true. Much less is it what we are biologically programmed to desire. No, it's what we're culturally programmed to desire. That is the cultural programming. But I know that it's not biological because I'm a biological organism and I don't desire that.
Bro, he's boring.
I don't want any life but the one I have. I don't want any woman but the one I married.
Okay, cool, bro. You said the same thing. How do you end this?
And that'll do it for this portion of the show as we move over to...
Woo! He be be chatting, bro. Make sure you get over that 10 minutes. I miss being on BotTube where you could just rake in the fucking ad revenue doing terrible content with no edits. Fucking. And shout out to Ducati. He said he's been here since 100K on BotTube. Yo, shout out to you, Ducati.